Picture yourself as an 8-time NBA All-Star, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and the player who once dominated the game so fully that people bestowed upon you the nickname Superman. Despite these accolades, you find yourself surrounded by animosity within the NBA community, particularly from esteemed figures like Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. This is the enigma of Dwight Howard's career, a player widely acknowledged as one of the greatest centers of all time, yet consistently disrespected and overlooked. His journey has led him to opt for finishing his career overseas, rather than retiring within the NBA. What events transpired to tarnish his reputations to such an extent, turning him from a beloved star into a figure of disdain? The answer lies in a series of conflicts and controversies that plagued Howard throughout his career, shedding light on the harsh realities of the NBA when players deviate from its norms and expectations. One primary issue that plagued Dwight Howard was his attitude and the infamous conflicts he found himself embroiled in. Drafted as the #1 overall pick by the Orlando Magic in 2004, Howard stepped into the limelight following the Tracy McGrady era, facing immense pressure to fill the shoes of his predecessor. Despite the expectations, Howard quickly asserted himself, averaging impressive stats of 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 1 block per game over his first 4 years, while maintaining perfect attendance. His highlight reel showcased jaw-dropping alley-oop dunks and awe-inspiring blocks, solidifying his status as a force to be reckoned with on the court. However, beneath the surface, tensions simmered as Howard's clashes with teammates, coaches, and fellow players became increasingly frequent. These interpersonal conflicts, combined with his perceived defiance of traditional NBA norms, contributed to the erosion of Howard's reputation and ultimately led to his exile from the league. In 2008, he was chosen to participate in the NBA dunk contest, and it was truly remarkable. But his flashy performance not only entertained the crowd, but also stirred up trouble with an NBA icon. When Dwight Howard won the contest and donned a Superman costume, it ignited a feud between him and Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal, known as the original Superman, felt displeased that another towering player was adopting his persona. This conflict led to both publicly criticizing each other on national television. Despite its trivial origins, this feud reshaped perceptions of Dwight Howard, as will be detailed later in this video. Setting aside their beef, Howard revitalized the Orlando Magic, leading them to one of their best seasons in franchise history, including a finals appearance in 2009. But Howard's tenure in Orlando was marred by a dispute with head coach Steve Van Gundy in 2012. Dissatisfied with his role as a primarily inside player, Howard clashed with Van Gundy and eventually forced a decision between himself and the coach. The tension escalated to the point where Van Gundy publicly acknowledged Howard's desire for his dismissal during a televised interview, resulting in an uncomfortable moment. Despite the rift, Howard and Van Gundy later reconciled, but the incident was a significant issue at the time. Initially, Dwight Howard emerged as a dominant force alongside the greatest player in Orlando Magic history. However, a few years later, his actions led to the dismissal of his head coach, followed by his abrupt departure to a new team, which didn't reflect well on him. Howard's attitude and reluctance to fully commit to his team's strategy weren't confined to Orlando. They persisted in his subsequent stint with Los Angeles. Despite the formation of what was anticipated to be a formidable trio in LA, consisting of Howard, Nash, and Kobe, the team failed to synchronize. Nash was past his prime, Howard was plagued by injuries, and Bryant harbored resentments towards Howard, akin to the Shaq-Kobe feud, albeit without the championship pedigree. Bryant perceived Howard as lacking in toughness and dedication to the game, particularly as Howard grappled with injuries. Howard, in turn, questioned Bryant's leadership and offensive approach, believing he deserved more opportunities on the court. But Kobe was in the midst of a remarkably efficient season, further exacerbating the discord. Despite voicing his concerns about the team's offensive strategy, Howard couldn't salvage his relationship with Kobe, leading to his eventual departure from LA. Then Howard encountered similar issues with another superstar, James Harden, during his tenure with Houston Rockets. Despite the team's success, Howard's desire for a more prominent role clashed with Harden's preferences, culminating in Harden's request to bench Howard in favor of Clint Capella. Howard's career trajectory was further hampered by injuries, particularly a debilitating back injury in 2012, which not only dashed Orlando's playoff aspirations, but also kept him from representing the United States in the Olympics. For a player whose game relied heavily on athleticism, such injuries posed significant obstacles. This pattern of clashes with teammates or coaches, coupled with recurring injuries, categorized Howard's subsequent journey throughout multiple teams over the next few years. Before his injury, Dwight Howard was an absolute force on defense, boasting 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards and 4 rebounding titles. But following the injury, he never again made it onto an All-NBA defensive team. In Los Angeles, a shoulder injury exacerbated tensions between him and Kobe Bryant, whose own season-ending Achilles tear further hindered their partnership on the court. In Houston, Howard's injuries plagued him during critical moments, such as the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors, where he suffered a torn MCL and meniscus, sidelining him for half of the subsequent NBA season. Years later, as a Washington Wizard, he re-injured his back, causing him to miss a significant portion of the season. These injuries marked a turning point for Howard, transforming him from a dominant force into a humble role player who never again averaged more than 20 minutes per game. Despite these setbacks, Howard compiled an impressive resume, including an NBA Finals championship, 8 NBA All-Star selections, 5 All-NBA First Team nods, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and 5 rebounding titles, among others. But despite his accomplishments, he's been overlooked in discussions of the greatest players in NBA history, which is both surprising and disrespectful given his contributions to the game. Howard's story serves as a reminder that perceptions and narratives can overshadow a player's on-court achievements, leaving him being criminally underrated despite his remarkable career. For instance, when Dwight Howard joined the Lakers in 2020, many believed he was past his prime and unlikely to contribute significantly, but he played a pivotal role in their championship victory, proving his doubters wrong. Despite this achievement, some of his harshest critics remained unconvinced, underscoring the difficulty of changing one's reputation in the NBA. Unfortunately, negative perceptions can persist, even when a player strives to be a positive role model. The issue with reputation represents the third challenge in Dwight's career. The reality is that once a narrative is established about a player, it can be challenging to alter public opinion. Since leaving the NBA, Howard has found success playing professionally in Taiwan, where he earned an All-Star selection and led the league in rebounds. Despite being overseas, he continues to generate highlights and entertain fans on social media. Despite the challenge he has faced, Dwight remains one of the most statistically accomplished centers in NBA history. At his peak, he was virtually unstoppable and is destined for induction into the NBA Hall of Fame. While he may currently be overlooked by the NBA, time has the potential to reshape his legacy. Despite his accomplishments, Dwight Howard has been one of the most disrespected players in the league, as evidenced by his exclusion from the top 75 players list. What do you think? Should Dwight Howard be in the NBA Hall of Fame? Drop it in the comments below. Subscribe if you like this content, and I'll see you in the next one.